Good morning, it's Monday, and let's have our devotion together. I am recording this on Sunday early afternoon, and so you may hear some rain and thunder in the background. This week we're working through Acts 14 and 15 on the way to looking at the Jerusalem Council in Acts 15, where the gathered body of believers got together to try and settle how it is that Gentiles could come and join the people of God. In those days, they didn't have a sense of the separation that you and I have of Jews and Christians. Jesus was a Jew. He wasn't intending to start a new group. He was coming to fulfill. He was coming to correct. He was coming to be the sacrifice. He is the promised Messiah, right? And so as we read through the book of Acts, they're still wrestling with, okay, so what is the difference in what happens, and what's our posture toward each other, and can we, right? So how is it that people that weren't part of our faith before can be part of our faith now? And it's a hard question, and we've seen the wrestling back and forth in Acts, and it's going to be settled in the passage in Acts 15. Except it's not, because you can make a decision. That doesn't mean it's easy to follow, and it doesn't mean that everybody's going to abide by it or buy into it, because humans, right? We're all human. So, without any more rambling around, Acts 14, 1 through 18 is where we are for today. The same thing occurred in Iconium, where Paul and Barnabas went into, this is the same thing that had happened in chapter 13, which is, there was trouble. So the same thing occurred in Iconium, where Paul and Barnabas went into the Jewish synagogue and spoke in such a way that a great number of both Jews and Greeks became believers, and that did happen. But the unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and poisoned their minds against the brothers. So they remained for a long time, speaking boldly for the Lord, who testified to the word of his grace by granting signs and wonders to be done through them. But the residents of the city were divided. Some sided with the Jews and some with the apostles. And when an attempt was made by both Gentiles and Jews with their rulers to mistreat them and to stone them, the apostles learned of it and fled to Lystra and Derbe, cities of Lycaonia, and to the surrounding country, and there they continued proclaiming the good news. We heard this morning a testimony from Jeannie that about this. They kept going and they kept going and they kept going and they kept going, and you get that in this passage. Right now, here we are in Lystra. There was a man sitting who could not use his feet and had never walked, for he had been crippled from birth. He listened to Paul as he was speaking, and Paul, looking at him intently and seeing that he had faith to be healed, said in a loud voice, "Stand upright on your feet." And the man sprang up and began to walk. When the crowd saw what Paul had done, they shouted in the Lycaonian language, "The gods have come down to us in human form." Barnabas they called Zeus, and Paul they called Hermes, because he was the chief speaker. The priest of Zeus, whose temple was, I had to flip my page here, whose temple was just outside the city, brought oxen and garlands to the gates. He and the crowds wanted to offer sacrifice. When the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of it, they tore their clothes and rushed out into the crowd, shouting, "Friends, why are you doing this? We are mortals just like you, and we bring you good news that you should turn from these worthless things to the living God, who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is in them. In past generations, God allowed all the nations to follow their own ways, yet he has not left himself without a witness in doing good, giving you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons, and filling you with food and your hearts with joy." Even with these words, they scarcely restrained the crowds from offering sacrifice to them. I still remember sitting in a seminary class. It would have been probably a New Testament general class, and the professor said, "Hey friends, this is really funny. Paul, we think of Paul as kind of a little guy, and we think of him as pretty mouthy. And Barnabas was sort of the strong, silent type. And so the pagans in this town saw Barnabas and Paul, who kept talking and talking and talking, and they thought, oh, Hermes, because that's what Hermes was like, their god, and Zeus, tall and strong and big and not quite so boisterous, and they saw Barnabas when they saw the power of the living God coming on in them. So they really struggled to understand what this was, and so what they did seems pretty normal, really. They interpreted it according to who they already were, rather than looking immediately for something new. And so now Paul and Barnabas get to show them something different, and that's how that goes. The song I have for today, I don't know if it fits the passage or not. I found it last week and thought it would be good to sing this week, and we'll sing it in the Friday sing-along too. Spirit of Life, it's number 368 in Voices Together. Bum, 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 bum. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind. You know, I did that totally wrong. I'm going to do that again because I really don't want to record the whole thing over again. So, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Amen.